Chapter 901. Transplanting Immortal Aperture, Relocating Blessed Land. Fang Yuan started to set up the formation in accordance with locations indicated on the Gu formation chart. He found the 8 formation cores in star form Blessed Land through star form Land Spirit's guidance. He placed the corresponding immortal Gu there one by one. Star form Blessed Land had few space path down marks. The Land Spirit could not teleport. The 8 formation cores were very varied in distance. They were either close by or far away. Fang Yuan spent a lot of time due to this. By the time he finished, he had already spent half a day. After this step, Fang Yuan, who was vigilant and cautious, inspected these 8 formation cores carefully again. After confirming that there were no issues, Fang Yuan returned to his original spot and placed the chosen spine-fin star dragonfish into his own immortal aperture. Under his orders, star form Land Spirit opened the Blessed Land's entrance. Fang Yuan walked out into Earth Abyss. The Blessed Land doors were shining with light, but it could only radiate over a small range of land. The inside of Earth Abyss was very dark and silent. This was a deep part of Earth Abyss. Even Ancient Soul Sect, one of the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent, had not explored this deeply yet. But even though there were no humans here, there were countless hidden desolate beasts, and even ancient desolate beasts. It was very dangerous. There was no time to waste. Fang Yuan let out the spine-fin star dragonfish. The spine-fin star dragonfish had the size of an ordinary whale, but it looked like a carp. Its body was covered in blue fish scales. There were bones protruding out of its back, along the spine, extending outwards. Fang Yuan placed the 4 immortal Gu on the body of the spine-fin star dragonfish in accordance with the smaller Gu formation chart. One was in its mouth, one was in a particular bone on its back, one was in the left eye, and the last one was in its stomach. Even though the spine-fin star dragonfish was big, it could not compare to star form Blessed Land. Fang Yuan only took a short while before his arrangements were completed. He inspected it carefully again, before Fang Yuan confirmed it. The 12 immortal Gu had been put in place properly. He started to scatter countless mortal Gu around the area. There were even 1 or 2 immortal Gu that he tossed out, creating a powerful Gu formation. Next, he was finally at the most crucial moment of relocating the Blessed Land. Fang Yuan followed the method closely. He activated the remaining 4 immortal Gu. Star form Blessed Land's doors slowly closed, vanishing into thin air. Fang Yuan's entire body started to glow in a bright yellow light. Even though the yellow light was bright, it was not painful to look at. It was a very warm color. After 17 breaths of time, the light started to fade. They gathered into Fang Yuan's 2 eyes. Fang Yuan breathed in deeply. He willed it. The next moment, a faint yellow light beam shot out of his right eye, hitting the whale-sized spine-fin star dragonfish. The spine-fin star dragonfish's body shook. The small Gu formation that was on its body activated. It shined with a red light. Under this red light, the spine-fin star dragonfish seemed to be wearing red armor. The entire spine-fin star dragonfish was tough like a rock and did not move, as if it was a statue. Fang Yuan breathed roughly for some time. Next, a yellow light beam shot out of his left eye, directly piercing star form Blessed Land's hidden location. Under the influence of the light pillar, star form Blessed Land was drawn out, turning into a blue light lump. The blue light lump was only the size of a large bean, a sharp contrast to the enormous, whale-like spine-fin star dragonfish. The moment that star form Blessed Land was absorbed by this, the green grape immortal essence in Fang Yuan's immortal aperture started to be consumed at a terrifying speed. Fang Yuan's left eye turned with difficulty, moving the yellow light pillar with it. The yellow light pillar began to slowly move while pulling the blue light lump, and that spine-fin star dragonfish that was now like a stone statue also moved along with Fang Yuan's right eye, slowly approaching the Blessed Land. Rumble, the ground tremored and earth shook. Roar, roar, roar. Countless ferocious beasts in the darkness roared in panic and fury that a Blessed Land's relocation naturally caused intense turbulence in heaven and earth chi. A powerful earthquake was already forming in the depths of the abyss. Fang Yuan did not care about these trifling details and poured all his concentration into the spine-fin star dragonfish and star form blessed land. An enormous boulder crashed down on his head, but was blocked by his prearranged methods. Fang Yuan was confident he could hold on for some time, even if desolate beasts attacked. He had created an environment that would not allow any disturbance to him for a while. If he was moving. Two large mountains. The two pupils in Fang Yuan's eyes moved slowly. At this moment, both his body and soul were exerting all their strength. Not much time had passed from when the two lights touched each other. However, to Fang Yuan, it was like a year had gone by. The moment when star form blessed land and the spine-fin star dragonfish touched, Fang Yuan suddenly relaxed, as if he had unloaded an extremely heavy burden. Fang Yuan's carefully arranged immortal goo formations played a crucial role at this moment. Star form blessed land was like a wanderer returning home, or a swallow returning to its nest, settling down in the spine-fin star dragonfish's body, turning into an immortal aperture inside it. This was the method Lang Ya land spirit used to relocate blessed lands. There must be a desolate beast or ancient desolate beast in which the blessed land would be transplanted as an aperture within it. Afterwards, the desolate beast or ancient desolate beast could bring the immortal aperture wherever they were moved. However, time was very limited in this transferal process. The desolate beast or ancient desolate beast that held the immortal aperture could not take in any other immortal aperture, and also could not use any immortal goo. Otherwise, it would influence the workings of the immortal goo formation on their body. The specific circumstances were, Fang Yuan could not store this spine-fin star dragonfish into his immortal aperture to quickly move it and the same time. He also could not use any other immortal goo or immortal killer moves to help it, that he could only rely on the spine-fin star dragonfish's own physical strength to float and move to another place. After all, although an immortal aperture was residing inside the spine-fin star dragonfish, it was only barely done with the help of the larger and smaller immortal goo formations. Even a slight outside influence could cause the goo formation to collapse, and not only would the relocation of the blessed land fail instantly, the immortal goo used could also be destroyed. But even such a large disadvantage could not conceal the enormous value of this method. The person who created this relocation method was not Long-Hair Ancestor, but was equally famous as Long-Hair Ancestor in history. His name was Old Immortal Kong Jue. In the long history of Goo Immortals, he was one of the three Refinement Path's Supreme Grandmasters, a legend of the remote antiquity era. His research and understanding of apertures and immortal apertures surpassed his time. It was his efforts that allowed those of the 10 extreme physiques to advance and become Goo Immortals, forming super-grade blessed lands. Old Immortal Kong Ju named the immortal killer move of relocating blessed lands as the immortal aperture transplantation method. Up to this point, this was the immortal killer move with the highest number of core immortal goo that Fang Yuan had seen. Nevertheless, this immortal killer move with up to 16 core immortal goo was only an incomplete immortal killer move. Old Immortal Kong Ju's initial thoughts had been to perfectly transplant a Goo Immortal's immortal aperture into a desolate beast or ancient desolate beast's body. Unlike the current situation, where they could only rely on the two Goo formations and consume a lot of immortal essence to join the two together with difficulty, and just for a while on top of that. After Long-Hair Ancestor obtained this inheritance of Old Immortal Kong Ju, he also made many attempts to complete it with Old Immortal Kong Ju's research results, but they all ended up in failure. Under the inspection of the Inkman Wisdom Path Goo Immortal Yen, Long-Hair Ancestor discovered this incomplete immortal killer move already had shocking value. Goo Immortals could use it to relocate the immortal apertures of dead Goo Immortals. Time passed by, bringing great changes to the world. Now, countless years later, Fang Yuan was benefiting from this move. Go there. Fang Yuan commanded the spine-fin star dragonfish to move. Because of the disadvantages of the immortal aperture transplantation method, the spine-fin star dragonfish's speed was less than half the original speed, and the pressure on the body was huge, as if it was moving with a mountain on its back. This made the distance the blessed land could be relocated every time limited. Lang Ya land spirit had moved Lang Ya blessed land, but it should not be far away from the previous location. This was also One of the reasons Fang Yuan did not move to immortal blessed land. Fortunately, Earth Abyss is an extremely good hidden area. It will be a long while in the future before this layer gets exposed and developed. I can use Star Form Blessed Land as a reliable camp to replenish and recuperate. Moreover, I know the disadvantages of the immortal aperture transplantation method, but others don't know. When He Lu Lan does not see Star Form Blessed Land, she might think the Blessed Land was destroyed. After all, the concept of relocating blessed lands has already surpassed the common knowledge of Gu immortals. Like this, Fang Yuan led the spine-fin star dragonfish to move in Earth Abyss. The path he moved on was naturally according to an elaborately drawn map, which had already gone through large numbers of tests and probing. He continued to move deep into Earth Abyss, while avoiding many desolate beasts. In the gaps between the territories of desolate beasts and ancient desolate beasts, Fang Yuan slowly moved with the spine-fin star dragonfish. Fang Yuan's destination was 3 layers down from the original location of Star Form Blessed Land. However, after going down 2 layers, Fang Yuan's luck was used up as he ran into a desolate beast one-eyed giant ape. The one-eyed ape was extremely vigorous and would often wander around in Earth Abyss. When it discovered the spine-fin star dragonfish, it excitedly started a chase. Fang Yuan began a fierce fight with this one-eyed giant ape, strenuously maintaining the safety of the spine-fin star dragonfish. But in the end, Fang Yuan suffered from having no battlefield killer move and was unable to effectively restrict the one-eyed giant ape's movement. Eventually, partway to their location, the one-eyed giant ape heavily injured the spine-fin star dragonfish. The spine-fin star dragonfish was extremely weak while carrying the immortal aperture. It was already using all its strength to move, and thus did not have any spare energy to strike back. Fang Yuan finally drove away this damned one-eyed giant ape, but the spine-fin star dragonfish had already been injured heavily and could no longer move. Fortunately, the immortal Gu are unharmed. If anything happened to them, wouldn't I have to compensate Langya until I'm bankrupt? After Fang Yuan inspected the condition, his heavy mood eased up. This was good fortune within misfortune. Since the situation had already turned this way, Fang Yuan could only choose the second best option and place Star Form Blessed Land nearby. The moment the immortal aperture was removed, the spine-fin star dragonfish completely crumbled, turning into a pool of meat and blood. Even its beast's soul had dispersed. This was the necessary sacrifice of the immortal aperture transplantation method, and Fang Yuan had already known this. Even if the spine-fin star dragonfish was not injured, when it reached the destination, it would still die from exhaustion. Starform Blessed Land was successfully relocated, hidden in a completely new area. Everything was worth it. Chapter 902. Heavily Developing Star Form Blessed Land. Fang Yuan entered Star Form Blessed Land. Star Form Blessed Land's heaven and earth chi were greatly affected by the relocation. Intense earthquakes occurred in Star Form Blessed Land. Only until Star Form Blessed Land was placed down and started to absorb the endless amount of earth chi did it stabilize. As the earthquakes ceased, this moment, Fang Yuan looked over it. The vast landscape was filled with cracks and crevices. Dark smoke rose up from burning flames. Fang Yuan's heart sank slightly. He sighed deeply. This was something he had no other way to deal with, because to transplant the immortal aperture, he could not interrupt the activation of the 2 immortal Gu formations. Thus, even if Fang Yuan had methods involving immortal Gu, he could not use defensive or protection methods on Star Form Blessed Land. Langya Land Spirit had once told Fang Yuan about this. Langya Blessed Land's losses were far greater than Fang Yuan's Star Form Blessed Land. Thus, ordinarily, the Blessed Land would not be relocated. "Where is the Land Spirit?" Fang Yuan called out. Star Form Land Spirit's eyes were red. He did not understand why his master wanted to move. Under Star Form Land Spirit's guidance, Fang Yuan started inspecting Star Form Blessed Land. He first had to inspect Star Form Blessed Land's 4 sources of revenue: the Arrow Bamboo Forest, Broken Star Lake, Meteorite Pit, and the Star Fragment Grass Fields. Broken Star Lake's water was flowing along a huge crack. There were piles of seaweed at the bottom of the lake. There was still some water left inside. It had not dried up completely yet. Landscape as before. Fang Yuan took out the immortal goo and poured his immortal essence into it. Landscape, as before, immortal goo gave off a white light, sweeping over the Broken Star Lake. Immediately, the ground below Broken Star Lake mended, the lake water filled up and returned to its original state. But the loss of seaweed was still going to affect the production of Star River goo for a period of time in the future. There was nothing inside the water. Only seaweed and aquatic plants were floating around. The original palace below the lake was completely destroyed. Landscape, as before, could not restore things like man-made buildings. But the fish groups, insect groups, and goo groups that were inside this lake did not die from the earthquakes. Fang Yuan had moved them into Hu immortal blessed land long ago. Fang Yuan's immortal aperture was a dead land. Living beings could not live inside for long. Afterwards, Fang Yuan went to Arrow Bamboo Forest, Meteorite Pit, and Star Fragment Grass Fields to inspect them. Out of his expectations, Arrow Bamboo Forest was unharmed. Beside the Arrow Bamboo Forest, there were two long cracks. They narrowly grazed the edge of the forest. It was truly a close call. The Arrow Bamboo Forest was the biggest plantation in Star Form Blessed Land. Fang Yuan had already collected most of the resources there and kept them in Hu immortal blessed land. To think that Arrow Bamboo Forest dodged this crisis. It was truly a stroke of good luck. But the Meteorite Pit and the Star Fragment Grass Fields were not so lucky. The Meteorite Pit suffered huge damage. It was nearly unrecognizable. As for the Star Fragment Grass Fields, because of the fire, some had been burned into ashes. At first glance, it was a barren land. Under the effect of landscape as before, the Meteorite Pit was restored to normal, and even the terrain of the Star Fragment Grass Field had been restored. Landscape as before immortal goo is truly useful. With it, my losses shrunk by at least 80%. And since I already moved out most of my resources beforehand, Star Form Blessed Land only suffered a minor loss in the end, even though there was huge destruction that occurred. Fang Yuan thought as he looked around. He used landscape as before to restore the landscape of Star Form Blessed Land, but that expended a lot of green grape immortal essence. He did not repair everything. He left some cracks in the ground as they had been. He had a stroke of inspiration. Maybe I can use this chance and turn the cracks in the ground into river channels, creating a network that can spread throughout the entirety of Star Form Blessed Land. But Star Form Blessed Land has a unique terrain. As for how I can make this a reality, I will need to use the light of wisdom and think over it. Next, Fang Yuan used fixed immortal travel and went to Langya Land Spirit, returning the immortal goo back to Langya Land Spirit. Langya Land Spirit returned the immortal goo that had been held as collateral to Fang Yuan as he said, "If you need to relocate anything else, you can find me again." After all, he had earned a huge sum just now. In a short time, he earned more than 2,000 immortal essence stones. Langya Land Spirit continued, "If you join my Langya sect and become a supreme elder, in the future when you relocate your blessed land, I can give you a huge discount when borrowing immortal goo." "I will think about it." Fang Yuan replied half-heartedly. He had only wanted to obtain benefits from Langya Land Spirit. He did not want to be tied together with these hairy men. Once he joined, he would be unable to go away. He would lose his freedom. He would not make such a stupid decision. Next, Fang Yuan used fixed immortal travel and entered Tai Bai Yunsheng's immortal aperture, returning landscape as before to him. In the immortal aperture, Fang Yuan asked about Eastern Seas information from Tai Bai Yunsheng. Tai Bai Yunsheng told him that Song Yishur and the others were searching for him all over the place. Some people had approached Tai Bai Yunsheng. As a result, looking at the situation, our relationship would be exposed in a short while. Fang Yuan muttered, "I suggest that you contact Shark Demon and join Eastern Sea Zombie Alliance. Relying on Zombie Alliance, you will be able to resolve this." Tai Bai Yunsheng said. Fang Yuan was not anxious. His plan was unaffected by external pressure. He shook his head. "It is still not time yet. There are still more than 10 days from the next attack on Yulu Blessed Land. Let's wait and see." Hu immortal blessed land. Tens of days later, underground cave, bathed in the light of wisdom, Fang Yuan opened his eyes, letting out a breath of turbid air. "I still failed after all," he muttered. Standing up slowly, he was sitting down on a small mushroom stump. He used it as a stool, but such short stumps were very rare now. Right now, the underground cave was a huge Ji forest. These Lingji were very different from before. Not only were they tall and thick, they were red in color. This was because of who immortal blessed land's seventh earthly calamity, the blood poison carrier flowers. Because of that opportunity, the ordinary Ji forest became a blood Ji forest. The HU immortal blessed land soil was originally not suited for the growth of Ji forests, but now it has become a blood Ji forest. It could grow very well. But this Ji forest would need 100 or 200 years to expand and growing into a true forest by creating more space and pushing aside the soil and rocks. Fang Yuan did not have much expectations towards this blood Ji forest. He was not going to invest into it. These last days, Fang Yuan had neither slept nor rested. He was putting in all his effort into developing star form blessed land. Once his identity was exposed, everyone would know that he was the culprit behind the collapse of 88 True Yang building. Who immortal blessed land would have to be given up. Star form blessed land would become his only base by then. By that point, if Fang Yuan was still an immortal zombie and had not revived, star form blessed land would have an even more important role to Fang Yuan, having immense value and use. Thus, Fang Yuan's focus had already shifted from who immortal blessed land to star form blessed land. As for the plan of developing star form blessed land, Fang Yuan had already thought about it dozens of days ago using the light of wisdom. According to his earlier inspiration, he would build a huge river system in star form blessed land. The actual plan, after deducing it properly, was grander. The entire water river system would not only be on the ground, he would even encompass the sky into it. He was going to create a huge three-dimensional river system. This made use of star form blessed land's unique terrain. Star form blessed land had a depression at the center, while having high altitude around the sides. It resembled the shape of a bowl that if he only built a river system on the ground, all of the water would flow towards the center. But if this was three-dimensional, the water from the center would be drawn into the sky. It would flow towards the edges of the blessed land and form a grand system for water to flow. As for the way to create rivers in the sky, Fang Yuan had deduced the cheapest and easiest method, that was cloud soil. Cloud soil was also used by Langya land spirit to forcefully create a cloud continent in the sky of Langya blessed land. Fang Yuan intended to use the cloud soil to create many river channels. Along these rivers, the fertile cloud soil would have countless star fragment grass growing on them. The soil that the star fragment grass grew in was the cloud soil. Star-Lord Wanxiang had no choice but to plant them in black soil, as he did not have enough financial ability to bulk purchase cloud soil. But star form blessed land's environment was very suited for star fragment grass to grow. This caused the growth rates of star fragment grass to be higher in star form blessed land than who immortal blessed land. Fang Yuan's plan was beautiful, but reality was cruel. Fang Yuan lacked a huge amount of funds. He had just accumulated 2,000 immortal essence stones, but he had passed them to Langya land spirit. Thus, these days, he could only repair the 4 sources of revenue in star form blessed land. Arrow bamboo forest had grown to its best condition, emitting a light fog under the use of large amounts of moon well water. Meteorite pit and broken star lake had been fully restored. The star fragment grass fields were more troublesome, but after Fang Yuan used the killer move Spring Star Rain several times, they were growing quickly as well. Ever since he obtained the Star Path inheritance and gained Star Shoot Immortal Goo, Spring Star Rain had turned into an immortal killer move. Its effect was dozens of times better than before. As for the dragonfish, eerie fire dragon pythons, regretful spiders, and Dang Hun Mountain inside who immortal blessed land, they were not moved over yet. Firstly, he needed to develop the place for now and finalize a proper water flow system before relocating the dragonfish. Secondly, star form blessed land was facing its heavenly tribulation soon. Why was Star-Lord Wanxiang so anxious to explore Starry Sky Grotto Heaven? It was because the heavenly tribulation was approaching. He was a rank 6 Gu immortal with 1 heavenly tribulation past. He was facing the second one soon. Because he battled with Song Zixing and was gravely injured, he lost confidence in surviving the tribulation. He had to expose the secret of Starry Sky Grotto Heaven and drag Shirley in to explore Starry Sky Grotto Heaven together. Fang Yuan was still hesitating over if he should Move all these resources away before the heavenly tribulation struck. Leaving the underground cave, Fang Yuan returned to Danghun Palace at Jiyu Fang Zheng, who was held captive all along, seemed to have resigned himself to fate. His eyes were hollow as he sat in the prison cell without moving. Evidently, the truth of a mortal crane sect attempting to kill him and his master Lord Sky Crane trying to possess him were very impactful news towards him. According to his usual habits, Fang Yuan stood before him and said some words that Jiyu Fang Zheng did not move at all. His expression was numb, as if he did not hear a word. Chapter 903, Joining Eastern Sea Zombie Alliance. Fang Yuan was not anxious. As long as Guyu Fang Zheng was eating food, it meant that he had the will to live. As for how to change his mindset and alter his perspective, so that Fang Zheng would view Fang Yuan more favorably, it was a long process. There was no need to rush. Afterwards, Fang Yuan came to another secret room and inspected Dong Fang Changfan's soul. He had many souls of immortals now. There was Dong Fang Changfan, Featherman Gu Immortal Zheng Ling, Snowy Mountains Shuesong Zi, as well as the Eastern Sea Lone cultivator Yao Gu Pai. These last days, other than developing star form blessed land, he had been searching these souls. Currently, he had searched all of their souls already. He gained a lot of benefits. But what truly made Fang Yuan crave for more was Dong Fang Changfan's soul. Once in a while, Fang Yuan would search his soul. It was no exception this time. After the soul search, Dong Fang Changfan's soul suddenly spoke. My memories have been read by you countless times, but recently, when you conduct soul searches, you will always check the memories regarding the dismantling of battlefield killer moves in my soul. It seems that you have encountered an inheritance, or have faced a strong foe that requires you to unravel a battlefield killer move. Towards Dong Fang Changfan's words, Fang Yuan was slightly taken aback. He replied frankly, "That's right. These last days, I have been studying your wisdom path inheritance, especially the details about resolving battlefield killer moves. Combined with my experiences and your memories, I will gain a lot of insight each time." Soul searching was like reading a book, but one was reading the memories in the soul instead. But like reading a book, there was no way to memorize every single small detail accurately. One thorough soul search was like reading a book from start to finish. You would learn about the contents of the book only. With constant revision, one would learn in depth about the information and would obtain more knowledge from it. Dong Fang Changfan's soul smiled. "Have you thought about it? I can actually help you. You are just a wisdom path newbie. No matter how much you revise and read through, the gains that you can have are limited. Meanwhile, my wisdom path attainment is much higher. As long as you give me a body, I will be able to make deductions for you and help you think of solutions. Isn't this a good idea? You can use information path methods to restrict me. I will be your most capable assistant." "That is a good idea indeed." Fang Yuan nodded. He smiled faintly. "But I will not do that. Forget about it. Even after being left with a soul, you are still not giving up. It seems that I have not given you a thorough lesson yet." Fang Yuan's smile turned into a sinister sneer. Dozens of goo worms moved with his will, activating. Dong Fang Changfan's soul shook intensely. The cell was full of his anguished cries. This punishment lasted for 2 hours. The pain in the soul was much more intense than in the body. Dong Fang Changfan was definitely taught a good lesson. Fang Yuan obviously did not waste time there. He left long ago and went to 2 other secret rooms. In one room, there was the rank 7 Featherman Gu Immortal Zheng Ling's soul. In the other room, there was Shuesong Zi's soul. Even though these 2 Gu Immortals were not wisdom path Gu Immortals during their lives, they had memories regarding battlefield killer moves as well. Even though they did not have wisdom path techniques, one was wind path and the other was snow path, they had their own unique methods to deal with battlefield killer moves. These memories were useful as references for Fang Yuan. What was worth noting was, both their souls had been searched multiple times by Fang Yuan already. From Shuesong Zi's soul, Fang Yuan learned that he had kept a fortune in snowy mountain-blessed land. In his mountain peak, there were a number of snowmen, as well as plants related to snow pines there, but Fang Yuan did not dare to take them. Old ancestor Shui, whose capabilities were unfathomable, Fang Yuan did not have much confidence in vaguely familiar face. He could not tell Fairy Li Shan about Shuesong Zi's death either. Why? Because Fairy Lishan and Shuesongzi were both members of Snowy Mountain, they were allies. After learning that Fang Yuan killed Shuesongzi, even if Fairy Lishan did not deal with Fang Yuan, she would have to inform old ancestor Shui who due to the alliance agreement. Meanwhile, from Zhengling's soul, Fang Yuan also made some gains. He obtained a complete wind path inheritance from Zhengling, as well as the immortal killer move Heavenly Wish, along with precious information regarding the immortal Gu House, Sacred Feather City, and the Green Heaven Fragment world that the Feathermen lived in. This world was huge. There was a lot of resources inside. After Fang Yuan learned about it, he almost drooled. Even though he knew about the scenery in the Green Heaven Fragment world, such that Fang Yuan could use fixed immortal travel to get there, but since that place was currently occupied by White Sea Sha and other Gu immortals, it was like a lion's den. Fang Yuan would not take the risk easily. After coming out from the secret room, Fang Yuan received Tai by Yunsheng's transmission. He said, I have already met up with Shark Demon and the others. Fang Yuan used fixed immortal travel and teleported into Tai by Yunsheng's immortal aperture before coming out of it the next moment. Xing Xiangzi appeared before Shark Demon and the others. Come, let me introduce you. This is the world-famous Xing Xiangzi. Shark Demon laughed as he introduced enthusiastically. Fang Yuan showed a bitter smile. Lord Shark Demon, please don't make fun of me, Sai. Saying so, tiny explosions occurred over Fang Yuan's body. It was as if firecrackers had been ignited on his body. Fang Yuan's expression did not change. His body shook as hundreds of mortal goo on his body fell out. None of these mortal goo survived. Some were torn to shreds from this explosion. Xing Xiangzi, you offended Song clan. This wisdom path mortal killer move cannot conceal your traces. Behind Shark Demon, an elderly Gu immortal spoke. Another skinny middle-aged female Gu immortal had an arrogant expression as she said with disdain, that's right. Right now, among the three most capable wisdom path Gu immortals in Eastern Sea, one of them is Song clan's Song Jiadan. If you only have these methods, you will be exposed soon. The last person was unfamiliar. He wore a golden robe and had a fat body. He looked like a rich person as he smiled and expressed goodwill towards Fang Yuan. Jia Dan sits in Twin Polar. Huan hides in Nangong. There is also Dragon Head Tortoise, living inside Adversity Sea. This refers to the three best wisdom path experts in Eastern Sea. Among them, Song Jia Dan ranks the highest. He sacrificed himself for his clan and fused himself into the world of Eastern Sea itself. As long as it is within Eastern Sea, he can deduce it accurately. This is very scary. Even if Sir hides in someone's immortal aperture, you will only delay the timing. You will be found eventually. Xing Xiangzi nodded. He cupped his fists towards the three Gu immortals. I have been enlightened. Thank you for the information. The mortal Gu that died were his defensive wisdom path methods to protect him against others' deductions. But the moment Fang Yuan stepped into Eastern Sea, these defensive measures self-detonated. One could see how skilled Song Jia Dan was from this. All right, Brother Xing Xiang, let me introduce you. Shark Demon referred to the elderly Gu immortal with his hand. This is the demonic path Gu immortal ninth ghost finger. He cultivates soul path mainly and wisdom path on the side. Shark Demon shifted to the arrogant middle-aged female Gu immortal. This is the wisdom path Gu immortal Xie Shu Feng, Master Xie. Finally, he talked about the smiling fat Gu immortal. This is Big Bag Lu Tan Exine. He mainly cultivates space path, but he has wisdom path attainment as well. It is my honor to meet all three of you. Fang Yuan cupped his fists again, having a humble attitude. The middle-aged female Gu immortal Xie Shu Feng said coldly, meeting you is my misfortune. You offended Song clan. Don't think you can escape. Right now, you are still scot-free. That is because Song clan did not go all out to find you, as they are busy fighting for ascending heaven plane and have no time for you. I would advise you to surrender to Song clan. Burdening me is one thing, but if you burden everyone and cause our Lu blessed land invasion to be obstructed, you will be doing everyone a disservice. Her words were very rude. Many Gu immortals heard it and had a change of expression. They were not worried about Xie Shu Feng's words. Instead, they were worried that Xing Xiangzi might feel insulted and create a conflict among themselves. creating internal strife. Tai Bai Yunsheng's expression turned grim, while Bo Dan felt secretly joyful seeing that Fang Yuan was insulted. Fang Yuan gave Xie Shu Fang a look. He thought that this Gu immortal was probably in the righteous path, resulting in such a poor attitude towards himself. Fang Yuan was joyful instead of angry. He continued from her words, Master Xie is right. Song clan is a super force. They have such great influence. How could I defend against them? Thus, I have decided, Lord Shark Demon, I would like your help in joining Zombie Alliance. Do you think I can avoid this trouble if I join? Xie Shu Fang was stunned. In her impression, Northern Plains Gu immortals were very rash and arrogant. Why was he being so mild? Shark Demon was the first to react. He laughed loudly. Of course you can. Brother Xingxiang is a great talent. Joining Zombie Alliance is a good idea. I can assure you, you will join Zombie Alliance smoothly. As long as you did not defile Song Yi Shi, we can back you up in this matter and support you as we negotiate with Song Clan. Then I will thank Lord Shark Demon first. Fang Yuan's face was full of helplessness and bitterness. Don't worry, Lord Shark Demon. I had accidentally entered the bottom of the volcano and saw that fairy Yi Shi bathing. That was the cause of this crisis. Sigh. Fang Yuan sighed deeply. He showed a look of feeling upset over a great misfortune that he did not intend for. Bo Dan's expression became very dark. Shark Demon laughed loudly. I believe, Brother Xingxiangzi. Come, let's go and break that fighting soul battlefield. After entering Yulu blessed land, everyone entered fighting soul battlefield again in a dark and gloomy area. Dark clouds were looming as a thunderstorm approached. Intense winds blew and a sandstorm was blowing. Soul beasts formed in the sandstorm. They grew in numbers and charged towards Fang Yuan and the others without stopping. Fang Yuan, Bo Dan, and the others had started deducing the battlefield the moment they entered. They displayed all their methods and techniques. Because of their earlier probing, they had found out the key to this round was not traps or difficulty. It was the immense time needed to find all the goo worms. 7 minutes later, ancient soul beasts would start to form. It would be best if they dismantled this fighting soul battlefield before 7 minutes. Chapter 904, Star Thought Immortal Goo. This was a race against time. If Shark Demon and the others could not hold off the soul beasts, then this invasion would end in failure again. But if the Goo Immortals could unravel the battlefield killer move before that, they would obtain victory. Boom! Fang Yuan waved his sleeves. A Wisdom Path Mortal Killer move was used. He destroyed 7 to 8 hidden goo worms. Earlier, when he targeted this fighting soul battlefield killer move, he could only destroy 5 to 6 hidden goo worms at once. But now, he could destroy 7 to 8. This showed that during this time, he had been hiding in Hu Immortal Blessed Land, practicing and learning to improve his wisdom path techniques. But Fang Yuan was not satisfied. This kind of self-directed learning is too limited in terms of improvement. To increase my rate of deducing this battlefield killer move, I need Immortal Goo. It is a pity, even though I have a wisdom path Immortal Goo, Unravel Mystery, I cannot use it to deal with battlefield killer moves. Unravel Mystery Immortal Goo's effect was to help a Goo Immortal think and solve puzzles and mysteries. If the battlefield killer move was treated as a puzzle, then Unravel Mystery Immortal Goo would be very helpful in unraveling battlefield killer moves. But simply Unravel Mystery Immortal Goo alone could not do anything to battlefield killer moves. Fang Yuan used the light of wisdom and intended to use Unravel Mystery Immortal Goo as the core to deduce a simple immortal killer move that could unravel battlefield killer moves. But unfortunately, even though Fang Yuan had been trying hard, up until the point when he had to come to Eastern Sea, he did not succeed. Deducing an immortal killer move was very difficult. Normally speaking, even if rank 8 Goo Immortals wanted to deduce a brand new immortal killer move, they would need to spend years, and every so often, their foundations would be insufficient. Until their deaths, they would not be able to complete the immortal killer move. Thus, Fang Yuan also had many incomplete immortal killer moves in the inheritances that he had obtained. Even though Fang Yuan's star path attainment level was ordinary, relying on wisdom Goo, he could completely deduce some incomplete immortal killer moves that resulted in star fire escape and projected star thought. But now, he wanted to deduce a brand new wisdom path killer move without any foundation. This was out of Fang Yuan's abilities. Even with the light of wisdom, his wisdom path attainment level was ordinary. This was his greatest drawback. It was holding him back. Actually, unravel mystery. Immortal Gu and the unraveling of battlefield killer moves are very closely related. As long as my wisdom path attainment level reaches master level, I will be able to design a new wisdom path immortal killer move specially used to unravel battlefield killer moves. Fang Yuan had estimated this inwardly long ago, but now, even though he felt some regret, he was not anxious at all, since Shark Demon had promised him publicly to recommend him to Zombie Alliance. There was little chance that he would go back on his words. Even if this attempt to unravel Fighting Soul Battlefield fails, Fang Yuan would not be implicated. Fang Yuan would have achieved his goal. That was to join Eastern Sea Zombie Alliance. In fact, from another perspective, to express my value to Shark Demon, so that it would benefit me. Battlefield killer moves like Fighting Soul Battlefield should take as long to deduce as possible. If he completely deduced these battlefield killer moves, and Yulu Blessed Land was taken down, Fang Yuan would receive little benefits from it. He might as well drag the time out and wait for himself to get stronger. He might get a bigger share of the profits then. Fang Yuan continued to move his hands. He was calm as he observed the situation secretly with his peripheral vision. He did not need to observe Bo Dan. He was doing the same, trying his best to deduce. But he could only destroy one hidden Gu worm at once. He made barely any progress towards this situation. Fang Yuan's focus was on the 3 new Gu immortals. They had wisdom path techniques in one way or another. They were invited by Shark Demon for this purpose. The one closest to Fang Yuan was the elderly Gu immortal, demonic path Gu immortal 9th Ghost Finger. Right now, he was lowering his head and looking at his hands. His 10 fingers were intact, but when he moved his fingers rapidly, only 9 fingers could be seen in the silhouettes. His wisdom path inheritance was very unique. The missing finger represented the one in the Great Tao that fled. It was the most profound heavenly secret. 9th Ghost Finger moved his fingers. They danced in the air like phantom spirits. He chanted in an unknown language that no one could understand at the same time. All sorts of mortal Gu flew out of his immortal aperture. These mortal Gu flew into the air and self-detonated, revealing the hidden locations of Gu around the area. Some mortal Gu only destroyed one spot, while some mortal Gu destroyed 7 to 8 hidden Gu worms. On average, his speed was slightly slower than Fang Yuan, but his wisdom path attainment level was definitely higher. Fang Yuan looked at Big Bag Lieutenant Xine. The title of Big Bag was very interesting. Fang Yuan guessed that since he was a space path Gu immortal, did Big Bag mean that he had incredibly skilled storage techniques? But normally speaking, Gu immortals who mainly cultivate space path have a lot of space path Dao marks. Their immortal aperture would also be much larger than ordinary Gu. Immortals, immortal apertures. Right now, Lieutenant Xine's eyes had turned into vertical pupils. They were like cat's eyes as he investigated continuously. His fat hands turned golden and oily. The aura that leaked from it displayed to others that this was a top-tier mortal killer move Lieutenant Xine first observed for a few breaths of time before striking. He stretched out a golden hand and aimed at one point, pointing a finger. This movement seemed to have expended a lot of his energy. Soon, he was breathing roughly and panting. But after each time he pointed at the corresponding direction, large numbers of hidden Gu worms would be destroyed, turning into golden dust that scattered. Every strike of Lieutenant Xine's destroyed 8 hidden Gu worms. But his speed was very slow. His attacks needed investigation beforehand, and he had to take several breaths of time to prepare it. It was very exhausting. The more tired he got, the slower his attacks became. Thus, in conclusion, Lieutenant Xine was slower than 9th Ghost Finger. It could be seen that Shark Demon's evaluation was on point. When Shark Demon introduced Lieutenant Xine, he said that he had wisdom path attainment. When he introduced 9th Ghost Finger, he said that he cultivated wisdom path on the side. Meanwhile, Shark Demon also placed much focus on Gu immortal Xie Shu Fang. As a person mainly cultivating wisdom path, she was undoubtedly the most capable among the 3. Fang Yuan looked at Xie Shu Fang next. As expected, Xie Shu Fang stood in the air arrogantly. Two streams of yellow and white vapor were blowing out of her nose continuously. The yellow and white streams of vapor moved extremely quickly. They moved around in the air, destroying up to 100 hidden mortal goo. After destroying these goo worms, the yellow and white streams became thinner, but when they returned to Xie Shu Fang's nostrils and were breathed out again, they regained their power and become unstoppable again. Heaviness flashed across Fang Yuan's eyes secretly. These two streams of yellow and white vapor had incredible power. This was surely an immortal killer move. The power of an immortal killer move was much greater than the mortal killer moves that Fang Yuan had. Fang Yuan sighed to himself internally. My wisdom path attainment level is insufficient. I cannot use unravel mystery immortal goo properly. So be it. Attainment levels can only normally be accumulated through long periods of time. But if I have star thought immortal goo, according to Dong Fang Chong Fan's wisdom path inheritance, I will be able to use at least 3 wisdom path immortal killer moves to destroy battlefield killer moves. Among them, 2 are even stronger than this yellow and white vapor by at least 5 to 6 times. The wisdom path inheritance from Dong Fang Chong Fan was more refined than the one Xie Shu Fang had. Fang Yuan wanted to obtain star thought immortal goo the most now. On one hand, he had a huge need for star thoughts. One Fang Yuan stone nest, in who immortal blessed land, was refining star thought goo all the time now. If he had star thought immortal goo, he would be able to use this stone nest for the production of air sac goo, increasing its scale and earning more immortal essence stones for Fang Yuan. On the other hand, star thought immortal goo was one of the 2 cores of the immortal killer move star fog concealment. Star fog concealment had a similar effect to dark limit immortal gu.it could defend against other people's deductions, making their deductions unclear and inaccurate regarding the truth. Dong Fang Chong Fan's wisdom path inheritance had many top-tier mortal killer moves. Fang Yuan had used them, but facing people like Song Jiadan, there was no way to defend against his deductions using them. Once Fang Yuan stepped into Eastern Sea, the mortal goo that he had used instantly self-detonated. The defensive mortal killer moves collapsed in no time. Evidently, if Fang Yuan really became a fugitive in the future and was hunted down by everyone, countless people would be deducing his whereabouts. Then, he would need an immortal killer move to protect himself against others' deductions. It could be seen that mortal killer moves, even if they were top tier, would have no use no matter how many there were. There was a qualitative difference between immortal and mortal. But to refine star thought immortal goo, there are many difficulties. Firstly, the issue of funding. I have just spent 2,000 immortal essence stones. The money I have on hand currently is limited. Even if I have enough to purchase all of the immortal materials, I will need enough time and luck. Also, my success Dao mark was used up already to refine change form immortal goo. Even if I prepare adequately, if I am unlucky and encounter the failure rate, I would fail to refine star thought immortal goo. As for other people refining star thought immortal goo, the possibility is very small. After all, Dong Fang Chong Fan only self-detonated star thought immortal goo not too long ago. Time passed. 7 minutes had gone by already. In fighting soul battlefield, ancient soul beasts appeared again. A continuous stream of soul beasts encircled Fang Yuan and the others from all directions. Compared to the dark swamp of soul beasts, Fang Yuan and the others were like sesame seeds on a pancake. However, Shark Demon and the others were not desperate. They had intent to fight and anticipation. That was because Fang Yuan and the others were close to succeeding in dismantling the battlefield killer move, all or nothing. Shark Demon gritted his teeth. He knew that he had to stake it all now. He activated the incomplete profound ice house without hesitation. The incomplete profound ice house took in everyone as it rushed out of the soul beast army by charging forward. It charged unhindered, tearing countless soul beasts to shreds. Even the desolate beast-level soul beasts could not stop the rampaging profound ice house. Bam, bam, bam. Ancient soul beasts had enough strength. They surrounded profound ice house and attacked ruthlessly. Immortal essence was expended intensely. Shark Demon, Subai Man, and the others' expressions turned pale. Chapter 905, Pitiful Victory. Endure it. Success depends on this. We will win if we endure for just a bit more. In the incomplete profound ice house, everyone was screaming loudly. They lost their composure. Outside the incomplete profound ice house, there were an uncountable number of soul beasts. They were like swamps of ants encircling profound ice house in the middle. How many hidden spots left? Shark Demon shouted. 178. Bodan immediately reported. Even though he could not destroy the mortal goo efficiently, at this point, Fighting Soul Battlefield was close to collapsing. Soul beasts were no longer being produced. Bodan's investigative methods could cover the entire battlefield. 178. Su Bai Man muttered. Her expression was ugly, but the light of hope in her eyes shined brightly. This number of hidden locations seemed easy to deal with, but in fact, it was very difficult. Firstly, the core immortal goo left were the hardest to deduce and take down. Secondly, the immortals were now inside profound ice house. Their methods were restricted. They could not use their methods as freely as before. The immortal goo house had both offense and defense, as well as movement. It was a war fortress with capabilities in all areas, without any apparent weaknesses. The more goo immortals inside the immortal goo house, and the higher their cultivation levels, the more immortal essence they could provide to the immortal goo house, and the more power the immortal goo house could unleash. But there was a flaw in this. That was that the goo immortals could only provide fuel for the immortal goo house. The immortal goo house's offense, defense, movement, healing, investigation, and others were decided based on the immortal goo house's own immortal goo and mortal goo. Thus, Fang Yuan, Xieshu Fang, and the others' methods were obstructed by the immortal goo house. They could not be used. From this perspective, ancient battle formations were much better than immortal goo houses. Even though ancient battle formations had been deemed outdated in history after the emergence of countless immortal goo houses, facts showed that ancient battle formations still had many advantages. For example, the fighting methods of ancient battle formations were much more flexible than immortal goo houses, and immortal goo houses' offense, defense, movement, healing, and investigation abilities were all decided by the immortal goo. They could not be changed. Their power only depended on how much immortal essence was used. They were inflexible, but ancient battle formations were different. Even though ancient battle formations were also made of goo formations, the core was the goo immortals inside. The goo immortals could use their personal immortal killer moves inside the ancient battle formation. Just like during the defensive battle of Langya Blessed Land when Fang Yuan and the Hairy Man goo immortals used the second best ancient battle formation, Heavenly Giant Solar. This silver giant would change its form depending on what killer moves the goo immortal used, and the killer move's power would be amplified greatly as well. In all, if it was an ancient battle formation, the immortals might have already destroyed all of the hidden goo worms and obtained victory. But because this was an immortal goo house, they were restricted. It was like climbing a mountain. They only had a small flight of stairs in front before they could reach the mountain peak. But just this small distance was an incredible obstacle to them. In the immortals' perception, time seemed to have slowed down. Every second felt like years. Are we going to fail again? Su Bai Man muttered in disappointment. She showed a dark and defeated expression. But at this time, Xieshu Fang stood up. She said heavily to Shark Demon, I can settle all of the remaining hidden goo worms, but I would need to pay a huge price for my method. If you can give the immortal goo inside to me as compensation, I will help. Shark Demon's expression was ugly. He snorted coldly. Su Bai Man also showed a ruthless and unfriendly gaze. Xieshu Fang's actions were likely to be extortion, but at this moment, they had no other ways left. To complete this difficult task, they could only rely on Xieshu Fang. But Xieshu Fang asked for an immortal goo as compensation. Immortal goo were extremely valuable. She was really asking for an exorbitant price, but after Shark Demon thought about it for a while, he agreed without waiting for too long. You can only take one immortal goo. That is my limit. He had undergone an intense competition in Eastern Sea Zombie Alliance to seize the mission for attacking Yulu Blessed Land. Other than a portion of the benefits that had to be given to Eastern Sea Zombie Alliance, the rest would go to Shark Demon and Su Bai Man. This immortal zombie couple had already invested a huge sum. Their foundations were shaken. The immortal goo inside Yulu Blessed Land were their property. Right now, Xieshu Fang's request was simply digging away at their fortune, but one had to say, Shark Demon really had a grand disposition. He knew how to assess the situation and give up some benefits when necessary. He could actually hold in his anger and agree to Xie Shu Fang's request. This made Fang Yuan praise him secretly. Xie Shu Fang saw Shark Demon giving in and did not hesitate. She nodded, smiling. Sir Shark Demon, I am not a greedy person, but one of the immortal goo in the battlefield killer move suits me a lot. I will not dare to ask for more immortal goo. I owe you a favor this time. Go ahead, Master Xie Shu Fang. Subai Man crossed her arms, saying in a cold tone. This immortal goo was not easy to obtain. Everyone watched with anticipation as Xie Shu Fang's expression turned serious. Her aura was growing. At the same time, black and white lights appeared on her body. The black and white lights swirled around, forming into a big ball. The ball was made of black, white, and gray. It resembled a map and was showing a lifelike scene of the battlefield that in the map. The incomplete profound ice house was a white in the center, surrounded by darkness. They were all soul beasts. The hidden goo worms were around the countless soul beasts. They were shining like stars, having very clear locations. Wisdom Path, Immortal Killer Move. Distinct Map. Xie Shu Fang breathed in deeply. She stretched out her finger and pointed at the map. She used her index finger and thumb to grab onto a hidden spot. By exerting some strength, she squeezed. The immortals only heard a soft cracking sound, like something had shattered. Immediately after, Xie Shu Fang's fingers grinded. When she took out her hand, the goo worms at the hidden spot were destroyed. At once, the immortals gasped. Xie Shu Fang's Wisdom Path killer move could bypass profound ice house and attack the outside world with such precision. The soul beasts outside could do nothing to stop it. It was incredible. Even Fang Yuan found it eye-opening. This female immortal, Xie Shu Fang, might have a terrible attitude towards Fang Yuan, but she was called Master Xie by Shark Demon. She truly had some abilities. Even though Fang Yuan had the advantage in terms of a good Wisdom Path inheritance and could surpass Bo Dan, Lu Tan Xian, and Ninth Ghost Finger, against a Wisdom Path Gu immortal like Xie Shu Fang, he was lacking by a lot. Eventually, Xie Shu Fang used this distinct map, killer move, and destroyed most of the hidden goo worms, capturing an immortal goo in the process. When she took out this immortal goo from distinct map, the other goo immortals were all shocked. After losing one immortal goo, Fighting Soul battlefield broke down rapidly. The remaining immortal goo and mortal goo disappeared quickly, retreating on their own. Countless soul beasts growled. As they growled, they attacked relentlessly for the final time. Profound Ice House was after all an immortal goo house. It resisted the soul beast's frenzied attacks until the end. Eventually, the soul beast army disintegrated along with the battlefield killer move. Shark Demon and the others finally obtained victory, but soon, they fell into another battlefield killer move. Heavens, how many battlefield killer moves are there in this Lu blessed land? Bo Dan held his head in desperation. After the Fighting Soul battlefield, the Immortals went into another new battlefield killer move. 8 Doors Labyrinth to in this battlefield killer move. The sky and ground were all orange, other than 8 huge doors around them. There was nothing else. But even the best Wisdom Path Gu Immortal, Xie Shu Fang, showed a difficult expression. She reminded them, be careful. This 8 Doors Labyrinth is used specially to trap enemies. Even though it does not have the killing nature of Fighting Soul battlefield, it is harder to deal with. Nobody had any rebuttal. 8 Doors Labyrinth was very famous in history. When Gu Immortals were trapped inside, they would lose their sense of direction to a huge extent. Furthermore, each of these 8 doors would only allow one life form inside. After entering, the door would disappear. That was to say, the 8 doors before Shark Demon and Gang meant that they only had 8 chances to explore it. After entering the door, the Gu Immortals would need to fight alone with any help. There were no other Gu Immortals to help them. Rumors says that after entering the door, Gu Immortals will end up in a second area and make another choice out of 8 doors. In the 8 Doors Labyrinth, there are 8 areas. Each area has 8 doors. There is only one correct path, however. Choosing the wrong path would just be going in circles. This is a classic labyrinth battlefield. It is very powerful at trapping people. Without a Wisdom Path Gu Immortal skilled at deductions, there is no way to unravel it. Gu immortals skilled at fighting cannot progress through this. They might even be trapped inside until they die. Xie Fang sighed. Even though she was a wisdom path Gu immortal, she was not skilled in deductions. The immortal killer move distinct map earlier had already exposed her foundation. She was a wisdom path Gu immortal skilled at investigation and long-ranged attacks. She was more of a battle type. Fang Yuan's wisdom path inheritance was good at deductions, but he did not even have the most basic star thought immortal Gu. One couldn't cook a meal without the ingredients. This was a very awkward state. This is only the first area, we can still retreat. Xie Fang reminded in the earlier battlefield killer move, they could probe it. But against 8 Doors Labyrinth, Gu immortals would be risking their lives to investigate it. They could not even probe it from outside. Yulu Blessed Land's battlefield killer moves are getting harder to deal with. We should be close to completely taking it down. Shark Demon sighed. He wisely chose to retreat. Using Profound Ice House, the immortals charged out and left Yulu Blessed Land. This time, even though Shark Demon and the others unraveled Fighting Soul battlefield, they paid a huge price. It was a pitiful victory. The one that benefited the most was Xie Fang. She obtained an immortal Gu as compensation. She was overjoyed.